Revenge of the Gator sounds like a bad sequel to a bad thriller film, but it's actually a video game released by HAL Laboratory for the Game Boy in Japan in 1989, and then North America and Europe a year later. As the box cover implies, it's an alligator-themed pinball game. Use B to control the right flipper, and the D-pad to control the left, which at first glance is really odd considering the other buttons don't do anything. You'd figure that they'd keep both flippers together, but in actuality, it makes sense as your thumbs are in the position of each side, as opposed to jittering back and forth with just the right thumb, for example. It feels more natural and replicates the way an actual pinball machine would function about as accurately as it possibly could. It doesn't take long to get used to this either, and the controls are responsive and tight. Also, the physics are about as good as you'd want them to be. The ball moves in the direction that makes the most sense in connection with where it's located on the flipper, and the speed of the ball is the same way. It all feels quite realistic. As far as the board itself, there are several screens that change vertically depending on where the ball is. Each screen is in a fixed position, so when the ball drops to a screen below, or is launched up to the screen above, the screen will transition to the next one rather than connected screens that follow the ball around, like the way the camera would work in, say, Sonic Spinball, for example. While this may take away a bit from how pinball machines seem to affect how your eyes navigate around the board, this still feels better. For one thing, it's less nauseating to anyone who is susceptible, and two, you can see what's below you a lot easier than you would otherwise. And considering that dropping down is the opposite direction of where you want to go, then I think it pays to have at least adequate visibility of your impending doom. Speaking of impending doom, the game goes on until you run out of lives and your high score is saved. There's no quote-unquote beating this game. There's also, unfortunately, no additional boards. You've just got the one machine with 4 screens, and that's it. The screens are at least quite different from each other, and there are some cool interactions like having to break through to this gator breakout style, and these gator heads that will eat your ball and warp you to another part of the machine, or a bonus stage. So I guess there is more than just the main level. Also, there are a couple different 2-player modes. You can alternate using the same Game Boy, or you can connect them and do a simultaneous matchup, which I haven't tried before. But I imagine it's more fun than the alternating mode, as just about any multiplayer variation goes. Revenge of the Gator is limited, but it's a solid time killer. If you're in the mood for pinball in video game form, then you can't go wrong with this one. And that wraps up this edition of Aqualung's Game Reviews. See you next time.